Welcome to another Three Aficionados podcast here. We deal with all things analog, cars and watches. And I'm Steve Yip, and I'm a medical oncologist, and I seem to have too much time on my hands in the middle of a pandemic. And I hang out with Peter Pitton, Daniel Ross, and we chat about far too many details and minutia, and we'll try to dial it back. But we're going to get right into it today and crack open a beer. Here we've got my can opener, and I'll just be opening up my Corona Mexican Biz. And clearly Daniel has already jumped the gun there, and I sprayed Corona all over me. So today I'm going to be dropping a little lime, and I'm going to be probably fizzing all over my computer. So let's start with what's on your wrist today. So how about we start with Daniel and his very lukewarm looking, very flat looking beer.
It's a very cold Alexander Keys from out east.
Oh, nice.
And I've got my my trusty Swiss Army watch that was my grandfather's on. So we got that nice field watch, pretty simple stuff with a bulletproof rubber bracelet on it. He couldn't get that bracelet off, and if he couldn't get it off, no one can. So
awesome. So was the strap the original?
It's actually not the original strap.
No.
So he managed to get the original strap and somehow destroy it. But this aftermarket strap, which doesn't even fit the watch properly, is like, it's both comfortable and a tank, even though it's not a tank.
That's just like you, comfortable and tank-like.
Tank-like, but not a tank. Yeah.
Peter, what do you got on the wrist today?
Here, I'll take it off. I feel like it's usually easier to do. I got on the bronze fade today. It hasn't gotten much wrist time here in the past couple weeks, to be honest. I've been wearing my my G-Shock quite a bit, actually. I feel like that thing's just, I can put it on my wrist and not have to be concerned about it. But yeah, I felt like wearing this a bit this weekend just because I always love this thing, and whenever I look at it, it's just beautiful as heck. So it's one of the watches. Whenever I look down at it, I can literally get lost in this watch, even though I've had it for multiple, I think 2 years now. I could get lost just looking at it every time, kind of thing. And I can't believe I actually had it for 2 years as well. So anyway, Steve, what are you wearing today?
Well, I feel like I actually had a dual mode earlier today. I was rocking this watch, and I had to run and go put it back on because I think it's more appropriate for this talk. But actually, we've given it so many accolades, and we haven't yet even shown it. This was actually what I was wearing when I was trying to put up some security cameras, but was failing at that. But, so we'll start with what I actually was wearing just a moment ago, and what I was really wanting to show off today that I was wearing earlier. So we got the SKX 007 on a strap. You know, I actually don't know if I can technically call it a NATO strap because of the way it goes around. But it's a really cool strap that I actually ended up getting when I got that 5513 Rolex Submariner that I was wearing the other week. And I like it a lot on the SKX. It's really awesome. And I've been in the water with it, holds it really nicely, both with the steel bracelet that it comes on and with this strap, although the steel bracelet was the one that I wore when I was surfing. So definitely know that works. I don't know if I trust this one. I definitely want to get a good NATO that has, foolproof, high quality kind of stuff that's never going to let you go. So yeah, that's what I was wearing just a moment ago because I like to bang around on that. But I am actually going to show off the green gold Rolex Daytona I had to go and pick up from the safety deposit box because I was just missing it so much, and it just glows in the lights, and it's just so multi-dimensional. I initially didn't think that I really fully got it until I put it on the wrist once, and I was totally sold. And then John Mayer blew up the spot when he said, everybody was sleeping on it, and like I was able to grab it right before it just exploded, and it is amazing. I got the chrono going right now. I'm not sure why. I think I might have mistakenly started that earlier on, but I was actually hoping that I could time us from here on out. So I'm gonna unscrew the pusher here. So we'll see if I can stop it. And then I'm gonna hit reset. So I gotta unscrew the reset button. It's very, very practical.
This is taking way too long.
I'm
This is
sorry.
taking-
And I'm gonna start again. Okay, all right, go ahead. But I gotta go re-screw them back down. I spill some more Corona in it.
We got
All
a
right.
multi-dimensional watch for a two-dimensional doctor.
Yes, very single dimension is my character.
Single dimension even.
I am a vapid man. So
Watch what's awesome in that light.
yeah, well, I love it. It's awesome. And it's got like in the totalizers or the subdials, you can see that it's got little elements of red around them. The reason why I've got to hold on to this for the rest of my life and not really cash in is, well, number one, loyalty to my AD Dimitri, but number two, also because my grandfather loves it, and just like it's like he has dementia, and when you put it on his wrist, he immediately lights up and he starts talking, and he like becomes so enamored with it. He like kisses it and he's like, "That's a good watch." And then I tell him how many 18, like I think it's 18 karat gold. He's like 18 karat. Okay. So anyways, we'll stop focusing on my
Gold plated though, right?
Definitely plated.
Yeah.
Just like me. So with that, I think we've hit all the current watches that we're wearing. Let's get into the news today. So we've got watch news that I'm going to share here. I'm going to jump over here to, goddammit.
How many pushers do you have to use in order to get to where we are at this point?
I think that we've got to use all the pushers. Well, I got to jump from one pusher to, I got to unscrew one pusher, push it down, and then unscrew the other pusher, push it down, and then reset. And then you got to start the whole process again. So I'm very simple. So here, let's get into the only watch Tudor reveal. This thing really stopped me dead in not my cracks, but in my tracks, the Black Bay GMT1. So only watch, I believe, is for charity purposes, and individual companies will put up bespoke one-of-one watch. I can't believe I said bespoke, so douchey after showing my gold Rolex. So this is a bespoke watch designed by a Tudor based upon their GMT, which is already a workhorse, amazing movement. It's a little bit thick for my taste. And also I find with their bezel, the red and the blue, it's not the same as like a Pepsi color. It's very muted. And it's like maroon and very deep blue. So it didn't quite do it for me when I first tried it on the wrist, but this is beautiful. So they actually took the stainless steel and somehow Tudor ages it and patina-izes it, which isn't a word. And it is absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. It's got an open case back so you can see the movement. I believe still the same GMT movement in-house that they developed, but they did refinish it to have a similar kind of appearance that goes with the rest of it. I think it's a winner. I think that it'll go for crazy bucks on the auction. I hope that it leads to future spin-offs of the Black Bay GMT. Ultimately, I would just wish the Black Bay GMT was just thinner because I could get over the colors of the bezel, because I think it's awesome that they currently make an aluminum bezel with the GMT. Overall, I think this is beautiful. What do you guys think? Let's throw it to Peter here. Peter, is this a winner for you?
Yeah, when I saw this, I definitely hits my check marks. It's beautiful. I really like what they got going with the aged case, and I guess just aged everything. But the it looks like very like vintage vibe, but like also kind of like new vintage kind of thing. And I also love the open case back as well. I think it's really, really cool. I am kind of sad that, well, like you said, hopefully it inspires some spin-offs in the future, because I kind of sad a little bit that it was only a one-off kind of thing, which is obviously for a good cause. And like you said, it probably will go for a good amount of money too, but hopefully it will inspire something in the future, because I would love to see something like this available to the public in the future, because I think it's really, really cool. It's definitely hits a lot of check marks for me. I like the get the durability of the new GMT, but also with the old vintage. But I also have never worn one either, so I don't know, like you were saying about the thickness. So that would be something I'd kind of have to feel, because I know that can sometimes get me as well.
Doesn't the back look like the Terminator eye? It's like you've got the jewel, the red jewel
It does, honestly, yeah.
with the brushed metal.
Bounce, yeah.
Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple things to say about it. The first thing I'll just say is, like, I do like it. Would I enter into a bidding war in order to get one? I don't think so. But would I just go out and buy one if it was available? I would strongly consider it. I think it's very cool. I do think that the back is interesting. I like what they've done with it. I like that they've made it a piece of art in itself, instead of just polishing up the pieces that are already readily available and making it beautiful. They've seemed to actually, really turn the back viewing window, or at least what you see through the viewing window, quite beautiful. The sorry, something I do like about it is that Tudor seems to have managed, or it seems to have put a lot of the focus on the watch of itself rather than its brand name, and is letting the watch stand as a testament to the quality of the brand. So, the name Tudor and its certifications seem to fade off. They're not instantly noticeable like on other models. So you look at it, at first, it's not necessarily obvious what it is. And I think it's interesting the way that it's starting to ask some questions.
I like that it looks like it's lived through a war, and it totally reminds me of Apocalypse Now. Like Apocalypse Now with Brando's watch, it was popped off bezel, Pepsi, GMT, Rolex. And if there was ever going to be a remake with a successor, I think it would be with this. This is awesome. I think it's really cool. I love that it also it doesn't have the hands popping with color. So you have no bezel color, you have no GMT hand color. It's all just very almost monochrome kind of appearance. The other aspect to mention is with this movement, I believe it's the same movement, but it's actually previously the GMT Tudor had met COSC certification. This actually meets META's certification, which is even more stringent, I believe, although I'm not an expert in that field, but just kind of really cool to know how deep they went with this watch, just to really refine it just for a one-off. But I think it is super cool. And I love the fact that it doesn't have, just like the regular GMT, just like the Black Bay 58s and all the Black Bay line, it doesn't have the crown guards. So it looks like you can just blow it right off, but no doubt it would be super, super strong, just as my Black Bay 58 was. Yeah.
I think
it's a winner.
Yeah, I think so. I think something that just came to me now is that Tudor is almost taken the watch world and that trend towards extreme patina, they've taken and put it into practice and making the watch itself, rather than taking the patina and making it extremely bold and sort of synthetically aged. They've actually managed to create a piece that, I don't know, it's like patina in and of itself in a watch form here. It's neat how they've aged it without just using old cues.
Yeah, I'd be super interested to hear how they actually have this patented aging technique, but I'm sure we'll never ever find out about it. It's super dope, I think. So moving on from watch news, I want to jump to car news. Daniel, you wanted to talk about family haulers here. I'm gonna leave that to your boring ass, since one-dimensional guy here only talks about sports cars. So you go ahead and talk about the Audi Q4 e-tron.
I don't even think that it's something that we want to talk about too much, because we're going to hear about it so much over the coming years. I think it's interesting that it basically is a Q5 electrified. It's pretty easy transition. I like that. I like that the companies like Audi are coming into the fold and making electric cars that I'm actually interested in. You know, I know that Tesla just broke ground on their mega factory in California yesterday, but while they make a product that appeals to a lot of people, it's not necessarily something that I find all that interesting.
It doesn't interest me. So let's jump to my news. So my news is actually that I put a deposit down on a Golf R.
Whoa!
Hey,
So
that's
for an
exciting
allocation.
news.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, I was kicking the idea around for a while, and the more and more I thought about these family haulers and what's coming,
So sick.
and with the timeline, and knowing that I'm probably not going to get into the dream sports car, and I know that I financially could probably align everything to get the right car. And to me, the right car is a 4.0 997 RS or 993 RS. Just knowing that I just have to wait for the right car, I think this is the perfect bridge. This won't be immediate. I think they're getting their allocations coming at the very end of the year. So the Golf R is destined to be around December locally. And a friend was able to connect me with the local dealer with a great sales associate and kind of give me an inside track. And I appreciate it for sure. So shout out to Country Hills Volkswagen. So I think that this is going to be a super awesome car. I know that it's a pretty practical car, but just looking at the market, like the Civic Type R, the last outgoing Golf R, the Focus RS, all of these enthusiast hot hatches that are somewhat practical that you could kind of drive all year round, they're all going for crazy money. They're all going for way over MSRP. So I was like, well, this is brand new. This is something that I can spec right from the go, and I can have it as soon as December. So it's only a few months away. And selling the G-Wagon and the F355, I think this would bridge me to get the dream car aligned. So I'm going to go with the Lapis Blue, which is like a deep kind of royal metallic blue because there's only 3 colors. And I'm going to go with manual transmission because I signed it off with the wife. And although this is meant to be a family practical car, the North America market is the only market that's actually still getting a manual with this. Otherwise, Europe, other locations are going to be DSG only. Pumping out of the 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, you're getting 315 horsepower. The torque specs, I believe, were a little bit lower with North America and also with the manual compared to the DSG. Don't ask me how I understand that. I don't really understand why the torque is a bit different. I wish that it came with the tartan seats, but it comes with the leather seats. So pretty much the only option that you can add to it is a sunroof, and they already spec the sunroof. So my understanding is I'm getting an allocation in December. I just put down $500 deposit. And I think it's going to just help me be patient until the end game car can be acquired. And I just need to wait for the market to cool off. I don't think I can lose on this. And I don't think it's, the one that is forever, but I think that it's a great bridging that will be enjoyable, that I won't lose out on, and I can enjoy, and my wife doesn't have to complain and get too concerned after I sell the G-Wagon. What do you think?
Is she going to be okay with going from the G-Wagon to the Golf?
Well, she never really went into the G-Wagon. The G-Wagon is 75 kilometers. It's been washed once. It's been sitting in my garage or my father-in-law's garage. So largely, she's been appreciating it from a distance.
Yeah.
This does a lot of what the G-Wagon does, all that I need a G-Wagon to do, and then some. And then it's, still an enthusiast car, still pretty cool. Very under the radar, probably more under the radar than I'd prefer. But I think, it's crazy to me that this thing I could get for cheaper, brand new, than a Civic Type R. Or, a Focus RS is pretty close to this price range too. So I think this roughly works out in Canadian dollars to be around 50 grand. So I think that we're going to work out a good price, hopefully. And I think that will also open the door to real end game kind of car, just allowing me to focus my interests and attention into this until the right car comes up, because every single car that slightly comes up on my radar, it's either like for crazy money right now, or it's just like for stupid circumstances. So although I'm still keeping my eyes open, I think that this is like a no-brainer, really. Or am I wrong, Daniel? Are you going to tell me to?
I don't think you're wrong necessarily. I mean,
It'll be the first of the allocations, right? So everybody's going to be hot for it, at least in the first while. So like, even if it's like, absolutely, this does not fit me, I don't think I could ever lose if I needed to let it go.
I think you're right. Like, I think that you have an opportunity to get into something brand new, see if you like it, and then make a decision from there. But I don't know. I think that it's something that you should enjoy for a short period and then flip.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, I mean, I have a vibe that you're going to get into it and enjoy it for a period.
Yeah. This is
How
like
long
the
will it hold your
STI.
attention for? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like the STI, right? So it would be kind of cool to have for, especially the winter season, having all-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
And then, come summer, I can really focus on the sports car game. But I mean, winter is 1 month away here in Alberta. So like,
Yeah.
why should I be really killing myself and stretching to buy at a premium right now just to put a car in the garage that's going to be a pain for me to kind of distribute and then sit there and go, I wish I could drive it. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a difficult time to get into buying a car. It's difficult to buy a new car right now. It's
That's
even
the
more
thing.
difficult to buy a used car right now.
If you can get a new car that's a hot car right now, then I think you're golden. I think that's the only thing you should be buying right now, and not for a premium. Luckily in Canada, you don't have to pay it over MSRP. There's other ways that you can be dinged for it, but I'm not getting that in this situation. I think you try to sell anything you can sell right now. And largely, this is mainly driven by the fact that I am selling this one. So this is, for those who aren't on the YouTube channel, I've got the 95 F355 6-speed Berlinetta Coupe, red Rosso Corsa on black leather interior with the original aluminum wheels. And it's up on Bring a Trailer right now, and it closes on Thursday, I think. So right now it's on for, well, I'm not going to show the, there's like, you can put a reserve on it. So if I scroll too low, then I might show it. I know that that's supposed to be held as private. So, but the current bid is currently at 30,355. So it'll be pretty interesting to see. What do you guys think, Peter? Am I making a mistake here?
Sorry?
Am I making a mistake letting it go and buying the R?
No, man. When you just showed me that you bought that R, I had like the biggest smile on my face. That thing seems pretty sick, and I think you definitely, like, at the point you said too right now, like buying a new car, especially for that price point. Like, I don't think you're gonna walk, even if you decided to sell it later on. I don't think you're gonna, like, it would be an issue. You know what I mean? So I think it's pretty cool. Honestly, I think it's pretty badass. And the point you explained too, where if it's more like treating it like a transition into something you may more want one day, then I think that's probably a good idea. Because if this is like not a car that you necessarily see yourself keeping, your Ferrari, then what's the point on holding it around if it is a good time to sell it, right?
Yeah.
No, I do think personally, I think you made the right call with the Golf R. I think that.
I mean, we'll see what the outcome is of the auction. But
true. Yeah, seriously. I guess you won't know for another 4 days, but no, the Golf R purchase, I do give a thumbs up for sure. I think that thing's cool.
yeah,
I've never been to Golf R specifically. I've been in a lot of different golfs, with like different tunes in them and things like that. And they're impressive little cars. But if I'm correct, the Golf R is all-wheel drive, right?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
so GTI's front.
That would be the biggest interesting to see is how well it locks up with the all-wheel drive, because they're usually just bouncing around up front. But no, I think I think it's cool purchase.
I mean, honestly, I've driven. My cousin had the Mark 7, so now we're on Mark 8, but Mark 7 Golf R that I encouraged him to go into, and he had it in the DSG, and it really didn't do for very much for me. It seemed practical. It was quick. a lot of Porsche owners daily the Golf R. I know one of the really prominent like exotic dealers, kind of owners daily is a Golf R. I mean, honestly, in the middle of winter to get rear-ended in that, I'd much prefer rather than like in a G-Wagon where you're like, oh God, how much money did I lose on that, right? So, I mean, the way that people drive and the weather conditions, I feel like a daily driver should not go too high. Otherwise, you're gonna really cry. At least for driving it most days. So to me, I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good bridge. But as you said, Daniel, it's not one that I'm expecting I'm gonna stick around in for a while. I'll be wise about it.
Well, I think there's some interesting perspectives that have been brought to the table here. We did talk about Subaru and its new releases just recently. So for you to turn your back on Subaru and go down the Volkswagen rabbit hole is it's interesting.
Yeah, I just dropped the mic on Subaru. I said vote of non-confidence, no GTR, no WRX, and I put my money where my mouth is. If right now the Civic Type R was out there, I think I'd go for that. If the GR Yaris was here in North America, and I think that eventually they're going to be bringing in like a Corolla iteration, those two hot hatches would probably have the most appeal. They'd be much more hardcore. I'd much rather those for like at least long-termer daily hot hatch. You could drive it all year round. But right now they aren't. And I'm not paying a premium for a Civic Type R, and the GR I can't get. So, I mean, those are really the only other things that I'd consider currently in that price range. And I think, we were talking, Daniel, about the possibility of like an E63S or like an M5. These are super cool cars, but I was watching them come down before the pandemic hit the used market and then made things all go crazy. In value. They would have been high on my register, but they're just, to me, 100K for a used luxury sport car currently that's used. I mean, that's just as stupid to me as buying a Civic Type R currently.
Yeah, the values have gone all over the place to the point where we need to have we actually need to rethink our approach to the values of these cars, and watches. Like what is an appropriate value for any one of these specific things that we talk about, and where do they fall where do they fall relative to the other vehicles or watches or products that we talk about? Like right now, the Ferrari is, it's a pretty appealing price right now on the on the Bring a Trailer website.
Well, it's nowhere near the reserve currently.
No, I know.
I will definitely be pulling it at that point. Like, there's no way I'm going to be selling it at that price.
I guess I just pulled that number out because it's sitting right in front of me and I'm looking at it. I'm like, that's an appealing price point.
I don't think they even ever hit that price point. I think the lowest they went was something around maybe 60.
Yeah.
But they've definitely rebounded. And I think, in online auctions on average, they're around roughly 120 US and up for this kind of configuration. You can get convertibles, and you can get F1 transmissions. I'm not sure about, Targas are the GTS is pretty close to the Berlinetta. I think the pure look is in the Berlinetta and the pure performance. So I think it's pretty much the ideal spec. It could be debated as to whether it should be tan interior or black interior, but otherwise I think it's pretty mint. And this is a 95, so it had the Motronic, the Bosch Motronic 2.7 ancient ECU tuning. And so these ones were thought to be more, they were thought to have a better sound, a sharper throttle, and then it's debated as to whether they have higher performance, like higher horsepower. So they're more sought after, although, it's finicky electronics from the 90s, where even at 96 they were like, this is too old. Why do we have two different intake boxes? Why do we have multiple different electronics? Yeah, it's a pretty archaic technology, but when you get in it, it's like stepping back in a time machine. It's like, oh, I'm in Goldeneye right now. I'm like that Russian villainess. I don't know, Natalia. Was it Natalia or was it the other one? Who crushed people with her legs?
Natalia.
Natalia. No, I think Natalia was the good female Bond who was Russian, and then there was another one played by Famke Janssen or Famke Janssen.
I'm on the humble lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'd rather have the Aston Martin DB5 that was raced against the Berlinetta, but yeah, they're both cool. Actually, no, it wasn't a Berlinetta. It was actually the GTS, so it was the Targa top, but it was in Rosso Corsa. I can't remember what the interior was. I bet it was probably a black interior, and it was probably an F1 transmission. I wouldn't be surprised, but who knows? It's a super cool car and a time capsule. So that's what's up. So we'll see on Thursday how it sells. We'll have updates.
It's like one of the poster cars. Like this is an incredible looking example.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it looks awesome. The photos do really good. They seem like they did a good job too, to capture.
I did the photos.
Oh, did you? Then you did a.
There's like 200 photos that are up, and these photos aren't even the best ones. I was like, why did you choose these ones? I took this in like my work parking lot. You know, this one was actually in like a photo shoot that I did with an SLR. That was decent, right? I was like, why didn't you just stick to these? There's multiple different angles of it, and I have the F430 in the background. But,
the first and second one looked like they were taken on the same camera.
This one's an iPhone. The one that's in the parking lot. The first one is with an SLR, and that's in like a special. I think this was in an LRT transit station. Rooftop. This one was in the work.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first one looks oddly familiar.
Yeah, these are all like a smattering. The third one is that outside of a dim sum restaurant. So it's just like, you know, I mean, I've taken multiple photos of it and I've enjoyed the time that I've had with it. But it's time for someone else to enjoy, and it's time for me to be practical and careful with what I do so that I can really make the move on the right car, whether that's a 4.0 RS or a Speciale or something cool. But it'll happen for sure.
Yeah, the practical aficionados.
The practical aficionados. Don't be passionate about things that are analog. Why don't you just be practical and get a digital? Well, actually, that's the thing. I mean, it's supposed to be improved with its all-wheel drive system, and it's, you know, much more performance oriented with the Golf R. But one of the drawbacks, I think, is that it has way more technology. Everything is through the tablet in the interior controls. So that's a big gripe that a lot of like the enthusiast reviewers have said, you know, to just turn off ESC or to adjust the modes, you have to do it all through the tablet. And then the steering wheel has like all these haptic buttons that you often flick. And so you like put on the heated steering mistakenly and whatever. I mean, that sounds like a pretty minute thing as long as the performance is there. It sounds like it's got minimal turbo lag. It sounds like with their advancement from the Haldex all-wheel drive system, now they've really adapted and moved it on to like where the AMG A45S and where the Focus RS have put it, where you can get the torque splitting, where you can like put 100% of the power to the outside wheel. So I mean, it'll still be front wheel drive biased, but you'll still get 50% to the rear and 100% can go up to the outer wheel. So you get almost like that rear wheel steer kind of effect that way you get with like a GT3 RS. And so I think that it'll be an interesting, cool, you know, short-term owner.
I'll be interested to hear what your ownership experience is like when you compare it towards or against the STI that you had.
Yeah, which is a car, not the medical.
What year was your STI?
When did we meet, Daniel? It was the year that we met. So that would have been, it was the most recent generation STI. But I think it was like in the second year of its production. So probably was 2017, 2018.
Okay, nice.
So you want to talk about passionate about cars and being, I guess, practical, there's orientation of value, right? So what I did is I took Greyhound back when they used to exist in Alberta. I don't know if there is Greyhound. There must be still some form of Greyhound, but it's no longer operating, at least in Western Canada. I took a Greyhound all the way from Calgary to Lloydminster, and I think that was like an 8 or 9 hour bus ride, and that was shortly before someone got beheaded by like the guy who like had a psychiatric breakdown. But yeah, I wouldn't do that nowadays. I drove it back on like pretty crappy winter tires, and I was squirrely all over the place. It was in the middle of the winter. It was a pretty bad experience, but it was all because the thing was priced by a Chevy dealer in Saskatchewan that didn't even know the difference between an STI and a WRX. So they priced it as a WRX. And so I got it for a pretty good steal. And then I started finding issues, mostly in my head, that I brought to Daniel. And then I got him to fix things, and then, hook me up with the inside track as one does, exploiting friendships and relationships.
Didn't happen.
So with that, I think we've run through the major items of news. The only thing that I want to also mention is I'm on the hunt for future stereo equipment, because I've got the new house with a library cocktail room that I've got my stereo set up in. And so my cousin's been really trying to probe me to upgrade my stereo. Currently have a Pioneer amp. I've got a Audio-Technica turntable, and then I've got 2 tower speakers that have some like aftermarket drivers that my dad hooked up, but it was originally a Boston Acoustics tower setup. But this is a pretty old setup, especially the towers. So it's time to take advantage before I think stereo equipment starts going into the same changes that we're seeing in multiple other areas. I'm surprised that stereo equipment hasn't actually been impacted yet in pricing and accessibility, as far as I know. But the current prediction is prices are going to go up. So now I'm like, maybe I should, because I was thinking that takes a lower priority. But now that I'm deciding, well, the end game sports car is going back on the back burner because nothing's really coming up and everything's a primo. Let's get the Golf R, and maybe let's get a upgraded stereo system. So I'm thinking maybe a good $5,000 stereo system would be in the queue in the future. Maybe not a Macintosh, but something really cool. I think for that space would be awesome to listen to some old school Wu-Tang or some Biggie. Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea.
100%.
Yeah, upgrade that stereo.
Okay. I got to do more research in this area because, as far as the pyramid scheme in my brain of all things that I'm passionate about, I would say watches and cars are top tier. Audio equipment, it always comes, it comes and goes, it ebbs and flows, right? It's basically, sometimes I'll really research the shit out of it, and then after that, the whole market moves on and I don't keep track of it. So it's kind of like a demand-based acquiring of knowledge, but it's certainly something I appreciate. So I think that I got to get a new amp, and I got to get some tower speakers, and then I'm thinking I'll move that Pioneer downstairs to my theater, and then eventually I'll upgrade the theater to be able to watch movies. But I most enjoy the audio experience for just listening to music and having a cocktail or a shitty Corona. Well, I think with that being said, do you guys have any additional pieces of advice or news that you want to share before we end it and wrap it up today?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'll see you guys all next week.
Thanks again for tuning in to another Three Aficionados podcast. We'll have news and updates as far as the 355 sale. And I think that next time, I think I need to commit to the SKX 007 and wear it for the next time around, because I think it is a pretty awesome watch in its own right. And we'll have to go into a little bit of the story of it for next time. Maybe
try wearing it on the wrong wrist and tell us how that goes.
On the wrong wrist. Oh, you're gonna
Try
flip
an
it
entire
over.
day on the wrong wrist.
Well,
It should be
sometimes you have seen I've double wristed occasionally.
I've done it before. I do.
Yeah.
That's like
Oh my
Jay-Z, right?
goodness.
It's like Jay-Z said, there's so many watches, I need 8 arms.
Too
But I think that's aiming too low.
low. I don't know. I actually think I might be. I doubt Jay-Z is only 8 arms, unless
Yeah,
he's
I'm pretty
putting
sure he's got a
multiple.
lot more. 8 in each city.
Are we talking about watches or are we talking about
I'll talk
competition
about
to
anyone's
Beyonce?
girlfriends.
Yeah, that's right. So here's the wrong wrist.
There you go.
It looks pretty good. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask viewers and audience, the one guy who listens to this, maybe just Chris in Edmonton. So what the hell strap is this? Because I don't think it's a NATO, right? So it wraps back around. It doesn't look like the right configuration.
I
But
see
I
what
think-
you're getting at. Yeah.
I need to
It's like-
research straps more
It's
because
like
I'm
it
not used to
doesn't,
it.
like, it doesn't come back.
Yeah,
It's not cut off
that's a
like mine.
NATO. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Somebody tell me what the hell I'm doing, and if I'm doing it wrong, I'm sorry. I'm not a strap guy usually, but this is my only strap that I have. So
It
yeah,
looks good. I like that watch.
I think it looks good. It's a
One
it
of those
also
straps
doesn't-
only has 1 stripe and the other has 2 stripes. So that must mean something.
These straps here.
Nah, it's saying your straps have stripes.
Are you talking about my strap on?
I'm talking about the STD.
Oh yeah, when I went to Lloydminster and acquired an STI, the good old Saskatchewan strap-ons.
Yeah.
All right, well, we just went into the R-rated podcast section. I thought that we were actually family-oriented or something like that, but I think we've really ventured into the deep. So I think we lost all of our audience, but well, what the hell? At least we enjoyed it. All right. Well, it's been a good ride. I guess that's the end of the show forever. If we're back next week, that's pleasant. But if we don't see you again, all the best and good night and good luck. We'll see you, everyone. Thanks. Have a
Good
good
night,
week.
everyone.